sure that we do. We lost Gilbert right at the end, I'm just remembering. We lost Gilbert, who faded away just at the end of the last transmission. They told us there were 10 seconds to go and he faded, as you say.
Oh, but I think it is Gilbert who made a mistake.
I can't tell.
C'hai quella all'incontrario, è pitturata qua e qua no. Non lo so, magari se vuoi stare un filo più indietro, anche così guadagni ancora qualcosina.
Non so se mi dà un jump start.
Se stai più indietro. Sì, da qui.
Yeah, I heard that.
Dio che cazzo girasse quel cazzo! Quello è proprio come ci parla un attimo? C'è quel coglione sì, c'è lo svedese, quello biondo. A me sono le gambine corte, si speccano un pochettino.
Prova a girare. Così?
No, non da
Così?
Scusa, ci stai?
Ci stai? Ci vado via, dimmelo. Basta, oh, stacca. Basta. Fai qua, il coccodrillo fai.
Non va.
Come non va?
Come non va?
Oh, il coccodrillo fai qua.
Parlate con
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
Il coccodrillo anche, il casco. Qua.
Welcome back to the A1 ring. Welcome back to the A1 ring. Troy Corser of Australia, the man on the second row of the grid, the man who finished in, well, never finished. He crashed out when he was in a good position in the first race. And his newfound fiancée, or rather returned fiancée, Samantha, is right there alongside him. And she's looking pretty cheerful, isn't she? I hope he's feeling as cheerful as that inside his crash helmet, because that's been a big fat zero. In fact, look at that. That's his first zero score. After sinking to 13th with serious tyre problems at Brands Hatch in the last round, Corser has failed to score in the first race here at the A1 ring, and that's it. No points and out of second place in the championship behind Colin Edwards. So now it's Colin Edwards in second place in the championship, which is being led still by Corser's teammate Carl Fogarty. Edwards, of course, threatens to win and win again. He doesn't like these conditions. He was saying, do we really have to come out and do this all again? But at least it looks as if the weather at the moment is, I was going to say, it's fairly consistently raining. I can't tell if it's still raining right outside now. It's certainly extremely wet. And Colin Edwards is going to come out and have to do it all again. There are umbrellas still up on top of the pit garages opposite. So yes, the rain is still falling. But the point that has been made, and Rob, I'm sure that you were probably the guy who was making it, is that it's better if it's more consistent. When it's wet like this, at least the guys know where they stand.
Yeah, either full wet or full dry, it makes all the difference. There's no real a guesstimation now. The only thing that you might want to make a choice between is compound of full wet weather tyres. There is a choice. You do have a choice between basically hard, medium and soft rain tyres, and certainly this A1 ring is a medium abrasive kind of circuit, and so for the 25 laps for leg 2 of Superbike, I suspect that they'll be going for a medium compound full rain tyre, but everybody will be on full rain tyres and not the mishmash of cut slicks, full slicks and full rain tyres that was leg 1 here today, and we saw the effect of that with over 55% of the grid not finishing, either pulling out or crashing out. So
this man managed to do both. This man managed to crash and finish, and incidentally, in the meantime, in the middle of it all, he went off the track as well, quite remarkably. So Gregorio Lavia, he said he left his braking a little bit late at one spot and went off, and he also got himself chased off onto the slippy stuff a bit when he was confident, get this, that because he was running the same tyres as Pier Francesco Chili, he was going to hang with the Suzuki and go through to the front with him. That's what he was planning on doing. So Gregorio Lavia was disappointed with his 5th place because he thought it should have been very much a rostrum place, but nonetheless he's doing pretty nicely. He's up there, in there, and ready to go for the second race, and at least he got those points from 5th place in the first race. Now all these guys will be on full wets, and Carl Fogarty amongst them. Carl Fogarty there with his bike being attended to by Slick Bass, his long-standing right-hand man and chief mechanic. And no uncertain terms there. Slick Bass giving it the fist under Carl Fogarty's nose, because in fact he's saying to him, go out and win it, boy, or go out and do again what you did in the first race. But at least there won't be any messing around this time, because Carl Fogarty is there with full wets on, so is everybody around him. Colin Edwards in pole position. Aaron Slight behind, Aaron Slight alongside Fogarty on the right-hand side. And Andy Mecklow, who disappeared at the beginning and then reappeared in race 1, and eventually I think didn't actually get himself classified. He did 16 laps, but he did those 16 laps sort of at the end of the race. Disappeared early on, came back in, did 16 laps, and obviously something went disastrously wrong for the Remus Red Bull Ducati at the front. So let's see if he can improve on that. Andy Mecklow threatened to win here. He won here in 1993, the only time he's previously won a World Superbike Championship round, and he's currently in 2nd place in the German Pro Superbike Championships. Now, the man that we're glad to see on the grid, of course, is Pier Francesco Chili, number 7. He had a fairly heavy crash when he was running away with race 1. And I feel sure that a man of his experience, Rob, you were pretty dismayed with him, really. You regard him very highly, and you're a bit dismayed to find him throwing away a 7-second lead like that. But we'll ask you about that in a second. World Superbikes, round 10, race 2, a very, very, very wet A1 ring. Pier Francesco Chili looked as if he was going to clinch the first race win for Alstara Corona Suzuki, and then he chucked it away, 7-second lead. That was a silly thing to do, wasn't it, at his age?
I was very surprised. Tears in my eyes, Jack, when that happened.
For Carl Fogarty in the conditions he likes least. He needs to limit the damage. He does not need Colin Edwards to score too many points, more than him, if indeed he can, that's assuming that Colin is heading towards a double. Well, I'm trying to remember at the moment, last time anyone won 4 races in a row. It is a very, very rare achievement. Colin Edwards has won 3 in a row now. Noriyuki Haga did that last year. Carl Fogarty won 3 in a row, both the Monza races and the first race at the Nürburgring. And that's a relatively common occurrence, 3 in a row, but for 4 in a row, I think you have to go back to Carl Fogarty 1995. I don't think Troy Corser did it in his championship year, 1996. I might be wrong. I'm sure that people like Doug Poland in their championship years did 4 in a row, but this is all off the top of my head. So Keith can see if his memory's any better. As we look at the conditions, well, as they said, there's no problem with your tyre choice, is there? It is wet, mate. That's all there is to it.
Well, I have the feeling, Julian, that there's no one going to be taking any gambles here at all. I've got the distinct feeling that they're going to be looking over their shoulder at what everyone else is running, and will be attempting to run the same thing. I have to say, looking from that camera angle, that track looks about as inviting as a cold pond in the winter in England to swim in. Not a particularly good analogy, but
it'll do.
It just looks horrendous.
All I do is watch what Andy Mecklau put on his bike and do the same as him, I must say.
Well, I think Andy Mecklau has a mental situation to worry about more than actually tyre choice. Mecklau, a bit like our own Michael Rutter, of course, in the Grand Prix, he rides brilliantly in the wet. If something goes into his confidence factor when it rains, not quite equating always to the dry. And I think Mecklau is in a similar position. But here in Austria, of course, Mecklau can come up with anything on that front row, and he's got to be the dark horse on the front row. We don't know what he's capable of, because in race 1 he went out. So they come under starters' orders. Just a few seconds then to the red light. The red light's on. Who's going to make it off the line first time? Colin Edwards got a good start last time. So did Aaron Slight. Aaron Slight made the start as well. Loads of wheel spin. And backwards through the grid goes Carl Fogarty. Carl Fogarty then wheel spin and ends up back in about 8th place. But it's a Kawasaki who comes through the front. Gregorio Lavia gets a fly. We know he's good in the wet, and we know the Kawasaki works good in the wet as well. But Carl Fogarty's championship, he has gone back. We've got to count it back. I'm going to have to use both hands and feet the way he's gone backwards.
About 10th place.
Wheel spin then. That's what happens when you get a load of wheel spin. No traction, you don't go forward, you end up sliding backwards.
Goddard third. Goddard third.
The Aprilia. Well,
who's that
the third
second?
row of the grid. Looks like a Suzuki.
It is. It's Bussai. Is it Giovanni Bussai?
Oh, we saw him on the deck a little bit earlier on. Maybe he's a super sport man that's left himself on the grid somewhere. Mind you, he'd probably be better off on a super sport bike. Look at the spray, of course. It looks good from our cameras, because our cameras sorts out just how dark and dismal it is. But believe me, when you're on the bike, you can't see forward. It's number 6 that leads, Gregorio Lavia. Pete Goddard on 9 is in 3rd place. Then it looked like Vito Guareschi.
There's this guy Bussai, number 70 on the Suzuki, come through from 18th on the grid.
Well, must have been a cheater. Oh, beat down there. Well, we're waiting to find out.
That was Guareschi beat down.
We'll see if Bussai has got a bit of a penalty coming his way. There's Aaron Slight in front of Robert Olm and yes, Colin Edwards, Carl Fogarty, and the usual suspects. We've got a lot of good names well down the leaderboard at the moment, and a lot of, well, no, I won't say strange men, because that sounds slightly derogatory, but certainly not ones that we'd expect to be so far up the leaderboard. Look at the way they're blasting off at the front as well. Well, when a World Championship's at stake and we've only got 6 more races after this one to go, conservation of points, life and motorcycles seems to be a high priority for these guys.
Oh, Goddard's got his foot down.
Oh, well, he fell off, of course, in the race as well. Who else has gone? Goddard's out on the dirt. He's going. Bye-bye, Pete.
Oh.
I'll tell you what, that's a beating up, isn't it? Just goes to show you how fast they're really going. He lost that a long way into the turn, and his wrist is hurt there. Pete Goddard's already got a wrist injury from earlier on Donington Park, in fact.
3rd place man goes out. Hager moves up to 3rd, does he?
Well, there's another frightening scenario. Remember Hager in the wet when he practiced at the Grand Prix that he ran at the beginning of last year. Hager is 3rd behind Aaron Slight, then it's 33. Robert Old, then it's Keeley. Keeley's through. Keeley on bike number 7. So watch out for Keeley. Keeley is again on the move. He's just moved in front of Colin Edwards.
Slight in front of Hager. Slight went in front of Hager, and Carl Fogarty making a move, as you can see there in the middle of your picture, behind Troy Corsa.
He needs to make some moves from just there. It's no longer Troy Corsa that's the main competitor in this World Championship. It's now Colin Edwards on bike number 5, and 5 Edwards is right there with Keeley. There is Keeley on 7. 5 Edwards is after him. Well, already out at the front. Oh, Gregorio Lavia is slowly easing away. There's Carl Fogarty on bike number 1, just in front of 16.
Mecklau.
Andy Mecklau. Well, Andy Mecklau's not going quite as good as I thought he would, but Hager is challenging now. He's challenging Slight again.
Ooh, hold your breath, folks.
Yeah, hold your breath indeed.
Robert Ulm looking good on number 33 in front of Keeley, Edwards, Corsa, Foggy, Mecklau, Guareschi, and number 68, Brian Morrison.
Good on, Brian. Go for it, boy. So Brian Morrison on the case as well.
Slighty in 3rd place, I beg your pardon, because 2 strange names running away at the front of the field. And Slighty's got in the groove now, Kit. Has he got the feel for it?
Well, I'd let him go if I was them. At the end, it's all about racing against people in the championship. You see tape sliding from the side. Frankie Keeley has got tape all over the radiator to try and keep some heat in the motor. You can see it flapping to the side of his bike. There's Gregorio Lavia, your leader, from 70. That is Giovanni Bussai on the Suzuki, the Alpha Technic Team Suzuki. And isn't he taking his opportunity?
Yes. My money was on Keeley for this race win.
Well, it might not be over just yet, Jules. We've got, we're only on lap 2 of 25. Now, Carl Fogarty has caught Colin Edwards, so Colin Edwards is under some pressure from number 1, Carl Fogarty, and that now is about the championship. Was that Colin Edwards getting sideways?
It was Colin Edwards getting sideways. He's got 2 Ducatis behind him, the first of which is
another man straight on. Boussaï has overshot and done a Pete Goddard. So Boussaï then on 70 has slipped back.
There is Edwards with Meklau behind him, and then
it's not Fogarty then. Fogarty isn't anywhere near.
It's behind Meklau, Keith. It's behind Meklau. The Via first. Aaron Slight second, Haga third, Keeley making progress in fourth. Then there's Robert Ulm being shadowed by Corsa, who's making surreptitious progress. And then that man, number 70, Boussaï, who's been grass tracking, but he's right up there still.
Well, we saw from the results of race 1, doesn't seem to matter if you crash twice in a race, you can still get points here in Austria.
The Superbike boys are doing it all the time.
Aaron
Sport
Slight,
boys.
1 minute 54.749, so 1:54 compares with 1 minute 31 in qualifying. So this isn't just slow, it's positively pedestrian.
Absolutely, and Frankie Keeley on number 7 lines up Noriyuki Haga. Corsa in front of Ulm still. Look at Keeley.
Oh, Keeley, you said about it earlier on. You had your money on this man to win. I see no reason why not to keep your money on this man to win, because he's caught Haga, and he was a long way behind Haga for a moment. He's caught and past Troy Corsa, he's caught and past Robert Ulm. So Keeley...
I was thinking more of Keeley's habit of crashing in race 1 and then winning in race 2, Keith.
Good enough for me. It's a great record. I think I could do without the crash in race 1, though. That
now,
made me
talking
happier.
of which, here's Fujiwara.
Fujiwara, if he saves that, he'll be a miracle worker. No, he was almost still sitting on it.
He's now sitting on.
Oh, Keeley's through. Keeley on Haga. Then it's Corsa. Corsa out wide there.
Oh, and he's
pulled it tight, though.
Oh, and Keeley, beautifully done by Troy. Beautifully done by Troy Corsa.
So Corsa, he lined himself up perfectly there to get the drive to get underneath Haga. I was a bit surprised by his line on the way in, but on the way out, it was quick, and he got straight under Haga.
Gregorio Lavilla with a 4-second lead in the least Spanish conditions you can possibly think of. Gregorio he doesn't know enough about it, Keith, to be scared of it.
Well, I don't know. I've seen Gregorio Lavilla ride like this in the rain on several occasions. Very, very fast indeed. Carl Fogarty has slipped to 12th place, 14 seconds behind the leader. Now, that is a worry. 1:53.747 to Lavilla. That is an incredible time. 22 seconds slower than they qualified. Even in the rain, that is incredible.
Absolutely. Frankie Keeley looks... I thought he was the fastest man on the track. I was wrong. Here's the man who's fastest on the track.
Well, Keeley was quick a minute ago, but Gregorio Lavilla seems to have upped the pace. So Gregorio Lavilla on bike number 6 on the Kawasaki racing team, the official Kawasaki racing team bike. Akira Yanagawa's teammate, who's not racing today, so maybe... Gregorio is doing it for the team.
I'd have put money on a green bike being at the front here before the event, but I'd have put it with a number 4 on the front, Akira Yanagawa, not Gregorio.
Well, Aaron Slight's getting the grips now as well in second place on bike 111. 7 is Keeley, 11 Corsa, 41 Haga, 33 Robert Ulm, 70. Well, Giovanni Boussaï, he's been in the gravel trap as well, and he's still hanging in there. There's Fogarty. Fogarty's going backwards. Well, he's just got...
Kellenberger, he's behind Roger Kellenberger, one of the 2 brothers.
He's got no will for this race at all, Carl Fogarty. If he slips back much further, he might as well pull in because he's not going to score points.
Where was Colin Edwards?
Now, that's a good point. He slipped back as well.
Yeah, so it's the relative position to Colin Edwards, I think.
Oh, there's Pete Goddard. Well, Pete Goddard couldn't pick the bike up, couldn't use it.
He had his foot down for so long, I was reminded of the fact he was an ex-dirt track champion.
He just rolled it into the turn, couldn't do anything with it, and in the end, when he hit the dirt, Kim goes a-running, his girlfriend.
Look at Lavilla's lead. It was 4 seconds last time. It's come down a bit. Aaron's working at it.
Yeah, Aaron worked hard in race 1. He's going to feel he's got to get his confidence back, remember, because the last time he was on the bike, he fell off it.
Frankie Keeley, 3rd, Corsa 4th. It does indeed, Keith. Then that is Haga going backwards to... Keeley's snaking that thing. He really is. Ulm is closing in on Haga. Goreshi having another good ride. Where's Carl? Still 12th.
Well, behind
Roger Kellenberger.
That's incredible.
Corsa sets the fastest lap. Well, he looks like it, doesn't he? In 4th place, number 11, there he is closing. Well, going with Frankie Keeley, I would suggest.
Very, very difficult conditions, but at least they're consistent all the way around the track for all of the riders. No, well, shall we say doubt as regards to what they've got to do in this race. They've got to get their heads down and sort their confidence out here.
Well, doing this sums, Keith, I see that.
Well, 11 points behind.
Yeah, 11, 293 to 282. So Troy could reclaim second in the championship if things go his way.
Aaron Slight is 46 behind Corsa in third place. So Aaron Slight is back in fourth place.
He is
well,
out
not
of
if he
it.
wins this, he's not.
Well,
if he wins this and the others do something similar to what happened in race 1. And just yet, push hasn't come to shove, Julian. We're only on lap 5 of 25.
Slight 114 points behind Carl Fogarty in the championship I was referring to.
Ah, well, that's a different kettle of fish altogether.
That's all right, Nick, if we actually agree. We'll stop.
And there's only 175 left in the series.
Yeah, it's
including today.
Big ask.
So it's 150 after today.
Yeah, so Aaron's racing for the wins, not the championship. As Gregorio Lavilla, I'm glad we've seen something of the talent of this man this year, because we know from last year with his 2 rostrums on the private Ducati, but the man is a serious talent. Took a long while, and he hasn't really adapted his talent yet to Dunlops and the Kawasaki. We remember Gregorio leading in Albacete in the streaming wet, and the track dried out, of course, and he was caught by Keelan Foggy, I seem to recall. But
he looks very, very smooth. Now, he's on Dunlop tyres. We obviously have the tyre discussions every race meeting, but he's on Dunlop tyres. Michelin has supposedly got the better tyres in the wet at this moment in time, we're led to believe. But I've got to say, at the moment, it's a Kawasaki on a Dunlop shod bike that leads this race quite comfortably from the Michelin shod man in second place, and that's Aaron Slight, and in third place, another Dunlop shod bike, which is Pier Francesco Chili. So Dunlop, look to me like they're pretty much on the case here.
Edwards has gone back a place to 9th. Carl's gone up a place to 11th.
There's no doubt about it. Colin Edwards is having problems here with the weather like this, and we all have money on him in these conditions, winning.
I have my money on Keeley, who is not winning either.
Yeah, but he's not doing a bad job, and he's got a long way to go.
It's
He's
interesting,
got the flapping tape at the front of the bike.
It's in the mixed conditions of the first. In the mixed conditions of the first race, the men. Let's put this delicately, shall we? The men with large amounts of bravery managed to overcome the conditions. We watched Lavilla snake in it.
Oi, that wasn't just a snake hit. We saw a little bit earlier on someone in a similar position, but they didn't save it. It was Katsuaki Fujiwara, exactly the same place, exactly the same, shall we say, escapade, but without the result.
Yeah, Gregorio stayed on it. It's interesting now, as you say, these are now consistent conditions where they know what they've got. Not as trying, I would venture to suggest, as the patchy conditions of the first race. Am I right, wrong, or completely up a tree?
I think it's still very difficult to ride at race pace in these conditions, and of course, if the tyre goes off, then you find that the tread goes down, doesn't clear the water quite as much. If you get caught out with a puddle, then remember Aaron Slight from here a couple of years ago, I think he got caught out by big puddles around this track.
Up on the first corner.
Indeed, so it's as the race progresses and we have less tyre left. You heard Carl Fogarty report after race 1 that he was effectively racing on a slick because he'd got no tread, or in other water clearancing grooves left on his tyre. That will happen as this race goes on with these riders. It's how they deal with it. Frankie Keeley, as you have quite rightly pointed out, and just now quoted over the top of it. Oh, as Corsa gets sideways, Keeley still looks the best man out on the track. Oh,
that is, and no, it's not Andy Meclau. No. That is, that was Lucio Pedicini, and now Colin and Carl are less than a second apart on the track.
Yeah, and I think Carl Fogarty will be looking to. What's the polite way of putting this?
Conserve his... oh, you think he's going to overtake him or sit in his slipstream?
I think he's going to overtake him and just put a whole load of spray straight in his face.
That is graphic enough. As Gregorio Lavilla starts to worry about the attentions of Frankie Keeley. Oh, a saint from years past. Frankie alert, folks. Here comes the Italian.
There's some inevitability about Frankie Keeley.
Oh, look at the tight line he's holding there.
He loves the beach, I think is all I can say, and he ends up on it so often. So Keeley then, all over Gregorio Lavilla. Lavilla might as well not get too stressed about defending his lead, because it ain't going to last for much longer. Keeley is the faster man. He's looking for a way past.
Macias getting in the way. He's a Colombian. He's never seen rain like this before. Not on a racetrack.
He'll never want to see it again.
Absolutely.
So, Austria, giving us what we were expecting over the weekend forecast. Horrible weather conditions, horrible conditions to race in. Gregorio Lavilla, he's had his 15 minutes of fame. He's about to be overtaken by Keeley. Keeley sticks his knee straight underneath Gregorio Lavilla. Lavilla goes back a place. Keeley, once again, deja vu, like he did in race 1, from a long way behind, comes through to lead a World Superbike. Oh, Frankie. Dear me, just as my mouth is extended as it can be, and all the praise comes out.
And the boot was heading right towards it for a millisecond.
I nearly got another size 9 straight in my mouth. So Keeley, I'm going to stop commentating about Keeley. I'm just going to ignore him. Maybe he'll finish the race then. Corsa chasing Aaron Slight. Aaron Slight in a little bit of trouble. Troy Corsa in a little bit of trouble. As we look back
slight appear to slow down suddenly.
Qureshi still 5th, Orm 6th, Haga 7th, Busai still hanging on in there in 8th.
I'll tell you what, old Goretzky has done absolutely brilliantly.
Not going to argue with that at all. Edwards and Fogarty.
Half a second apart.
Still, yep, 0.6 of a second. Big wheel spin there as they come up and over the hill. Then it finds grip from Keeley. Keeley looking for that grip. Dunlop's working very, very well indeed.
And there's Brian Morrison sitting behind Carl Fogarty wondering, shall I?
I think the answer to that, and he already knows it. Now then, 2 Dunlop shod bikes, 1 Suzuki, 1 Kawasaki. Lead the Michelin men. That'll go down well.
Yes, lots to cheer about in Birmingham. They absolutely did the business in the Supersport race, the Dunlop lads. With the exception, of course, of Zeelenberg third on the Michelins, but what the hell? Other than that, top 4.
Look at the way Pier Francesco Keeley is pulling out a lead at the front here. Makes me nervous every time we lose a shot of him.
And there was a rattle of gravel, wasn't there?
I think it must be the cameraman moving his foot in it.
I sincerely hope so. We had that a couple of times in the Supersport race, Keith. It gave me heart failure. Now, Gregorio Lavia looks like...
Oh, look at Corsa. Nice line try. He didn't go through, did he?
He did.
Can't believe he did that. Troy Corsa, he has had 2 brilliant moves at this racetrack. One in the first race where he took both Edwards and Slight in remarkable ways. I think with one hand on his handlebars while he wiped his visor, looking dead cool and cash. And now he's just annihilated Aaron Slight.
Absolutely, that is an astonishing truth. There's glimpses of the old Troy Corsa, the last lap at the Nürburgring. That overtake is still for me the move of the year. That's doing the 2 Hondas in one.
It certainly was one of the toughest moves if you intentionally did it. I think he just sort of came across the pair. Oh, God, there's Robert Orm.
He even knows the gravel traps here well.
I was going to say, he's got a good line in the gravel trap. He's going
down. Robert!
Oh, dear me. Well, if you didn't look a bit of a, how shall I say, plonker in the first place, you do now, Robert. That is a great shame.
Adrenaline overdose.
He didn't need to be doing that, really, because he wasn't going to gain that many places by trying to exit the gravel pit at 100 miles an hour.
That's 2 fastest laps on the trot to Frankie Keeley.
Yeah, which is rather worrying, isn't it?
It is a bit, isn't it? How big a gap do you want before you knock it off a bit, Keith?
In these conditions,
half a yard.
Will do, yeah. Any gap will do for me.
What were you like in the wet?
Actually, not bad. As it would go, yes. I don't think it rained as hard in my day.
Oh, no, okay.
And the tyres were thinner, so they cut through it easy.
That's not as daft as it sounds, by the way. That's actually a kosher comment.
So, 3rd place, Troy Corsa, trying to fight his way back into this World Championship. He's 11 points behind 2nd place man, who is Colin Edwards after race 1 today, who is 57 points behind Carl Fogarty, who looks to be like he's in the lowest point scoring position as we look at Francis Batter, who really must be losing weight, hair and every other nervous part of it, because he's watching Keeley. So Fogarty 350 points, Edwards 293. That's a 57-point difference between those 2. But Edwards only has an 11-point lead over Troy Corsa, who is in 3rd place. And at the moment, Troy Corsa, down goes. Well, Gregorio Lavia falls out of 2nd place, and that just gives you some idea of how fast it is round here. You don't think they're going quick. Oh, look, that's a trick tyre he's got on there, really cut on the edges. So it's an interesting viewpoint of how trick tyres can get. And so, out he goes.
That's the new Dunlop we were told about then.
Yep, it's a different full wet. Now there's 3rd and 4th place. Troy Corsa is in 3rd place on 282, but 46 points further back. Aaron Slight on 236. Got to do some work here. Let's take another look at this. So 2nd place man, down the hill and down the road goes Gregorio Lavia. And he just didn't look like he was going to do that. He looked very smooth throughout this race. He didn't, but mind you, Corsa and Aaron Slight in race 1 did exactly the same. I wonder if we got my fingers crossed for this.
Anton Rechberger, the back marker, number 67.
And there's Dunlop.
Depression.
Well, Dunlop depression indeed, because their men were doing so well. Still, Dunlop lead this race with Pier Francesco Keeley and Suzuki, the Corona Suzuki.
They could do with a result after the Supersport double failure and Frankie's crash in the first race.
Well, and Katsuaki Fujiwara's, as through comes Corsa on the back marker, Rechberger. Rechberger left to the...
We are not making this name up, folks. Ha-ha!
Yeah, now this is the championship race now. 57 points between these 2, I think.
And about 1 point between them at the moment.
Yeah, a couple of points at the most between them. So, so Fogarty will, he's shrugging his shoulders. Oh, I'll follow him all day then if I have to. It's only going to be 2 points different. I'll have a 55-point lead going into Assen, shall I? So,
Roger Kallenberger, number 29.
Yeah, a name from the past, Roger Kallenberger.
Yeah, absolutely, a good rider in the Pro Superbike in Germany. The reigning champ in that situation is Andy Mecklau, by the way, who won Pro Superbike last year.
Well,
if you wonder where
that
he's
just goes to show that the Pro Superbike Championship standard
not what it was.
slipped slightly, yes.
That is
certainly not like the British Superbike standard, which is absolutely world class nowadays.
Yeah, well, as you go back 5 years, it's a reverse situation is true.
Course up, second place for him behind Keeley, and the gap is increasing. Keeley is winding the pressure on as we look at number 38, who is Lance Isaacs, the South African, on the Team Ducati NCR. Well, it rains in South Africa, but usually after about 5 o'clock at night, so unless he's been testing late into the evening, he probably hasn't seen much rain either.
Indeed, so the top three pulling away. Goretzky fourth again. Goretzky 15 seconds behind the leader. I'm glad to see that Vito is getting something out of this season on Superbike.
Vladimir Karban is about to be blown off by Pier Francesco Keeley.
Easy as that.
Of course, I think we probably make a lot of comment about Keeley and his crashing behaviour, but this is a man who is experienced so much in his Grand Prix World Superbike years. He really has been there and done that in just about all classes. He's a superbly qualified racer for these kind of conditions. He's now a veteran, of course, of any World Championship campaign, and the very fact that he can race at this pace still and has the motivation to still want to win World Championship races, for me, just as a mark of the man.
I agree completely. I think his first 500 Grand Prix rostrum was in the wet on a Honda triple.
Yeah, but what about a 125? We can go back even earlier.
He was a European champion at 125.
Absolutely. It's just he's been going, well, he's been going not as long as I have, but certainly he's been around as long as I can remember in racing.
Absolutely, and as you say, the will to win, he is still king of the Rostrum or Straw Bales School of Motorcycle Racing.
Yeah, Ruben Zaus is trying to emulate him. Anyway.
Yes, not enough win, Ruben.
Yes, and Ruben's going to try and redress that balance if he possibly can. Still looking then at the Corona Suzuki of number 7, Pier Francesco Keeley. Like he did in race 1, he made his way through to the front and has slowly eased away. But really, you do not want to be doing that sort of stuff with the lead you've got, Frankie. What do you think about? Yeah,
check it out, mate.
He's concentrating on his pit board. That should give him some indication on lap 11 of the 25. He's got a 4.689 lead over Troy Corsa, which I suppose, quite rightly, Frankie, is not enough.
And look at the consistency of the lap times of both of them. Troy had a 52 a couple of laps ago.
Well, that's the worry, isn't it? Troy Corsa is dead smooth. Mind you, Troy Corsa fell off in race 1 too, just like Keeley.
A word for Goretzky, Keith. I was very pleased to see him on the rostrum, and he's showing, again, in case we've forgotten, that he is a talented rider.
Well, I don't think we had. We gave him quite a lot of praise in race 1, and Scott Smart pointed out to me as well that Goretzky, he went very, very well round here in the Supersport races when he rode for the Supersport Championship, which wasn't a World Championship then. It is, of course, this year. So no real surprise, I suppose, that he's going pretty good as we look back at Goretzky. But the fact that he's whooping his teammate big time
for the first time. Yeah, and still Foggy and Edwards circulating together behind Kellenberger in front of Brian Morris. Number 38, Lance Isaacs there now going to get Goretzky treatment.
Yeah, Goretzky, he looks so smooth. He doesn't look like a Supersport rider at all,
No, he doesn't look like Vito Goretzky much. There he is, carving inside the South African Lance Isaacs, and you can see his lap times are a good couple of seconds off what Frankie and Troy are doing.
But good enough nonetheless to be where he is, and no one is bothering him. So Vito Goretzky, he might be wet, he might be cold, but he's going to be happy with a 3rd in the first race and a 4th in this one.
He's earned his money today as Vito. This is why Belgara put him on a superbike. Who can, you can't complain about the boy getting the ride when he can do things like this in the most difficult of conditions.
Yeah, but I think they were complaining about it for a while. This year, he's certainly not come up to scratch at earlier meetings this year. He's slowly but surely got better. Goretzky,
don't break.
I think that should be finished. Don't break the bike.
Frankie Keeley's gone into the 150s, Keith, into the 150s.
Well, we'll wait and see if it's all necessary as we keep an eye on Lance Isaacs from South Africa.
Keeley's in the 149s now.
Okay, so Keeley has pressed the button. Oh, there goes Goretzky.
No, it's Hager, is it?
You're right, it is. Hager, 2 out of 2. His short wheelbase version, you see, Hager. He's only a very short bloke. That's how I recognise him. Wrong number, right wheelbase. So yes. Hager, 2 out of 2. He loves Austria. He'll be coming back here for his holidays.
This is what happened to number 41.
So, Noriyuki Haga, no money on the fact the front end went straight under, halfway through his braking manoeuvres, he tipped in, there it goes already.
Oh, graphic.
Dear me, that's going to be a... well, normally that would be a big high-side get-off, but it's so slippery, the bike just fell out from under him, so One minute he's on it, the next minute it's a jelly.
And he's warming up.
Ungraciously then, sliding to get the old grass enema, is Noriyuki Haga. While we look back at the race leader, Julian collects his composure.
Oh, it's going to be difficult after that comment. Keeley has just gone past Fred Prota, number 27. We need a check on the time on the grounds. It's been 2 fastest laps from Frankie in the last 2. He's got to be extending his
again,
lead.
though, Jules. Looks very, very smooth. I've still got my fingers crossed, perhaps that's what's doing it.
I'm with you, mate. I'm absolutely with you, and I'm not just because I put money on Frankie. And of course, it would be the first win for the Alstare Superbike squad in World Championship Superbike racing as opposed to Super Sport racing.
Well, that's worth pointing out, and that is amazing, because that is one of the best teams in the world, bar none. Francis and Patricia Banner run a brilliant team, certainly brilliant hospitality. They've got a couple of good riders, thanks, Jules, for that extra little bit. Do you know what the menu is today?
No, it was barbecued rabbit last time I was there.
Yeah, but Keeley's got to catch it. Jonathan Green's already stuffing his face. He's trying to get a head start on us. It's the only time he'll beat us.
There's Troy Corser still behind number 27, Fred Prota. So just judging by the time it's taken Troy to get to the Frenchman, Frankie Keeley is doing a disappearing act.
Jonathan's mum is already on the phone, I think, to me. Jonathan tells me his mum doesn't like me because I take me up. Well, I'm only joking, honestly. There's an email, Mrs. Green, if you want to. Jonathan Scott Green and family can email Keith and Julian. You can abuse me like so many love to. Keith and Julian at bskyb.com. Anybody that wants to talk to us or indeed get hold of that Matt Oxley, Mick Doohan, Thunderdown Under book, write us something funny. Let us know your sense of humour. And see if we can use it, because we're running out of lines in here, aren't we?
We are in Cabinet, yes. You've noticed the recycling. Aaron Slight still in 3rd place, just in the back of the picture just then. And, of course, Troy Corser wears the same make of helmet as Aaron Slight. Yeah,
if I was Aaron, I don't think I'd have been commenting too much on that, because it's not the sort of thing that a professional should end up with nowadays at this level, is a steamed-up helmet. It can be something you can overlook when you've done too many sunny races, but I have to say, damned unfortunate for Aaron Slight, if that's what it was. So there is... Yes, everybody concentrating very, very hard indeed from the hospitality unit on Troy Corser.
The Ducati Performance mob.
Sam Davis, his girlfriend, in the foreground. Hopefully she won't have bitten all her nails off, because watching your boyfriend go up the track, as he did in race 1, is not what you want to enjoy your day.
Not the way to spend a Sunday, but Troy has looked much more like his old self for my money at this race meeting.
He did in race 1, but the fall was just, well, the penalty didn't fit the crime.
No,
and it didn't for Aaron Slight either, just horrendous conditions. And the fact that he caught out 2 of the very best men in the world, 2 of the most experienced men in the world, just goes to show that what Jonathan Green did actually say in one of his interviews is it's a complete lottery out there. And clearly it is, from a staying-on point of view.
Look at the lead that Frankie Keeley has, over 9 seconds now. So Troy Corser has given up, I would suggest, trying to press it to catch Frankie. He's got to watch Aaron, though.
Well, I don't think so. He's 8 seconds further back, Aaron Slight, so slightly back 8 seconds on Corser. Goreshi, well, he's out of the equation. He's another... however many, back on Aaron Slight.
Oh, Busai is still there in 5th.
Busai, well, despite, remember, ladies and gents, he's been actually in the gravel trap.
Oh, of course, yeah, a little bit
of
footing out the section, I forgot. Yeah.
Memory retention going as well.
That's the age key.
Water on the brain. The roof's leaking.
There's Fred Toto in the background. He's been lapped now by the 3rd place man, Aaron Slight. Aaron 46 points behind Troy Corser, 114 behind Carl Fogarty. He's just racing for wins now, isn't he, Keith?
I think he'd be happy to get one, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Do you see him winning at Hockenheim or Aston?
Not with the way Colin Edwards is running at the moment, but again, with Aaron Slight, he certainly seems to have had a bit of a fight back this year, and he's due, he really is. Aaron Slight is, you know...
Not won a race this year.
I know he and I have never really seen eye to eye about some of the things I say about him, but they're meant in good faith, and I must say that the praise that I've given him over the last month or so because of the fight back, he's really gritted his teeth and got on with his job on the racetrack, and that's what he needed to do. He needed to concentrate on what he does best, and really his last few performances have been really, really very good. It's just slightly unfortunate they coincide with a teammate who is also riding absolutely brilliantly. So Aaron Slight slightly overshadowed possibly by Colin Edwards at this point in the season, but I can see him doing enough to make a comeback by the end of the year if he can just break the back of it at possibly Assen or probably Hockenheim,
where the Honda lanes are.
Well, Honda lanes, but of course you know, Colin Edwards is on a Honda too. I think he just needs to get through that barrier that was produced after the Donington clash. Once he can get by that again, I think we'll be back into Aaron Slight possibly winning World Superbike races. I hope he stays on for another year.
So do I.
Because this guy, you know, the paddock would be a poorer place without him, there's no doubt about it.
And if he does end up being remembered as the Aaron Slight of World Superbike, the best man never to win a world title,
well,
it's not a bad comparison to have to live with.
You might even mean the Randy Mamola of World Superbike.
What did I say?
The Aaron Slight of World
I
Superbike.
beg your pardon.
He is actually the Aaron Slight of World Superbike.
Thank you for pointing that out to me, Keith. I like to look stupid, completely stupid, at least once an afternoon.
And I hate looking smug.
Lied fluently. As we look at fourth place man, Vittoriano Vito Goretzky.
And look at the water coming off.
Oh, it's horrible.
He's got a bow wave. He's not clearing water. He's cutting a swathe through it.
He looks good on the bike though. Looks relaxed.
Yeah,
says
thank you very much. Yes, that's a thank you in motorcycle racing standards. Don't take your hands off the handlebars. Just show the foot. Now then, Morrison is in 11th place, Luciari 10th, Metcloud 9th, but Carl Fogarty is in 7th place at the moment, but he's still right there with Colin Edwards.
It's damage limitation, isn't it?
Yeah, both of them now.
Absolutely. It's Troy Corser who is...
yeah.
And with Foggy being in front of Colin Edwards, it's more than damage limitation, I suppose, Keith. He's not going to get the points back he lost to him in the first race. Not all 5 of them, but it's going to come out again, just like at Laguna, where he only lost, was it 1 point to Corsa, Brand 6 points, something like that, wasn't it? So where he hasn't had really good meetings, the damage to Carl Fogarty's title aspirations have been well in single figures.
Well, Carl Fogarty's going to come away from Austria soaked through, but absolutely happy with the fact he's extended his lead in the championship. And he will only have, there's only 150 points left after this race meeting, so if he comes away with a 50-plus lead, he's got a 2-race win lead effectively over the top of his next closest man. So Assen coming up as well. He'll be very, very confident leaving Austria. It might not be the best race result that Carl Fogarty would ever want, but really, as a 33-year-old mature rider, he'll know the value of what's gone on today and how well he's ridden to...
Here he is.
Yeah, look at this. It's a great ride. He's
and there's
in front
Edwards.
of Colin Edwards now by a considerable
and
margin.
Metclow is attacking Colin Edwards.
So,
Andy Metclow attacking Colin Edwards.
Well, we could have a 60-point gap in the championship if that continues. And that will be very nice. Thank you very much, Troy. Again, Carl Fogarty wasn't particularly looking to this race meeting. He qualified quite well in normal qualifying, in fact, qualified fastest. In Super Bowl, he got knocked back 1 place by Colin Edwards, who just about was the favourite to take honours here this weekend.
Metclow in front of Edwards.
Edwards must have a problem, apart from Metclow, of course.
Andy Metclow, good round here, good in the wet.
18 there was Carlos Marcius. He's
Big
the lap marker, don't worry about him. So Foggy, nice and safe. All you got to do, Carl, is ride and concentrate, which is something that
he's good at.
You can do with your eyes shut because you've done it so many thousands upon thousands of racing miles.
There's Mr. Busai in 5th place.
Oh, that's a great ride from him. He really has had another Dunlop runner as well.
On a Suzuki.
Privateer tyres. Well, we've got Suzuki...
leading.
Yes, leading. So
when has the Suzuki? The Suzuki's won last year in Japan. Before that, we're back to Gary Goodfellow and Doug Poland in the late 80s.
On the old-fashioned GSXs, not these new rocket ships that are only just coming online. So really, it's taken a while though to get these Suzukis to work.
Yes, the Dunlop. Keeley said that in the first race of the year he was 40 seconds behind, but a couple of races later he was 4 seconds behind. Then at Monza he was 0.4 of a second behind, so he saw a win coming, which I thought was a great way of looking at it. And he said Dunlop have helped absolutely enormously, worked really hard on giving him a tyre that will work for him on the Suzuki.
Well, of course, Dunlop's development in their tyres was put back by years by the massive earthquake in Kobe. That's where their main manufacturing plant is in Japan, and it took them a year or 2 to recover from that, or to start the recovery from that.
Indeed.
And now they look as if they are coming back big time. Dunlop, of course, win in 125 and 250, and now it looks like they're coming back on superbikes as well.
There's Frankie, the first view we've had of him for a while, looking a little bit more composed. Though 2 laps ago, he set another fastest lap. Igor German's going to be lapped.
He's going to catch him on lap 18 at 25. Yeah, Francesco Chieli with the old duct tape still flying from the side of the bike.
It's good to see, isn't it? A real racer.
Well, that's like a 30-year-old tradition to stick duct tape all over your radiator to get a bit more heat into the motor.
I used to do it on my road going LC, Keith.
You must have had one for each foot. They must have been inline skates.
I learned it from Matt Oxley, mate, when I worked with him.
Yeah, but Matt Oxley's half your size. There is...
And 8 times quicker.
There is, that's true, than me too. There's the wife of Pier Francesco Chieli.
Romana Chieli.
And He is doing everything perfectly right. Still, I've got disjointed fingers at the moment because they are well and truly crossed.
I tell you, I didn't think Keith Ewan was a superstitious man, but he's actually had his fingers crossed for the entire race. No lie.
I just want Keeley to win this. I mean, I'll be happy for Keeley to do it. Of course, I mean, to be stretchered off in race 1, like I said, it's the first time I've seen a stretcher for depression.
Great quote.
But, I mean, to come back, I mean, this is so typically Keeley. Crash in race 1, back it off a bit.
Look at those lap times, Keith.
Yeah, big blue flag coming there for Igor German. German knows he's coming, and through the puddles go Pier Francesco, and consistent lap times all the way through, within half a second. We have Pier Francesco Keeley, your race leader, in the closing stages now of this race. We're on lap 19 and 20. Oh, Qureshi is down and out. Hopefully he's okay. I think he's already walked off, yes. Someone else can pick that up. I'm not interested anymore. I'm not getting in the line of fire in case someone else falls off. Vito Qureshi out of a good, safe 4th place, proving then that still you can be caught out here in Austria. So all is not won and all is not lost until the checkered flag.
Busai up to 4th.
Well, if he makes the podium, that will be something pretty trick.
Yeah. 18th qualifier. Well, Carl said before, when we interviewed him before the start of the meeting, Keith, a couple of top 6 places in these conditions would do fine. He's going to get them at this rate.
Well, 2nd place was a bonus in race 1. Of course, he gifted a couple of places there thanks to Slight and this man Corsa. But race 2, a genuine 6th place for him, I think will go down just perfectly as we hear more rattling stones. It's from our cameraman, I think, not from the racetrack.
Got something in the bearing, hasn't he, there?
He has, and it scares us every time we hear that. But Troy Corsa, another good ride from Troy. Sadly, he doesn't look like he's going to be a championship contender anymore, though, after this race. 150 points still up for grabs, but he's a long way off Carl Fogarty's lead in the series now.
Is he going to take 2nd place back off Edwards? That's going to be tight. I can't do the sums.
Well, there's 11 points between him and Edwards, so yes, he is, I think.
I think you're right.
Colin Edwards has slipped back.
8, 7? Never mind. 8 points Colin will get for that. He's 12 gets 1 point. That would put Troy ahead of him back into 2nd place in the championship.
I can't believe I got the mental maths right again. 2 nights on the trot.
Deep worry, the trend to Ewan getting his numbers right. Keeley in the 149.58. Frankie, stop it.
Oh, Sam Davis, the eyes have it, and Sam Davis concentrating at that monitor even harder than we are in here, that's for certain. So,
they've got a decent crowd here, given the conditions.
It's horrendous.
It's horrible.
I'm sure they haven't taken a prison on tour or something for the day. Lined them up in the wet to fill the banks out.
Interesting ideas. I can't even begin to answer that one as we watch Troy Corsa. I'm so glad to see him back on the 4th. Here's Aaron, gone past number 67. Our old chum, Anton Rechberger. Not a made-up name, I promise you. And there was a rider called Rene Prang as well, a Dane recently, who I didn't invent his name either.
Yeah, he's got a brother, Willie. I did invent that. Still looking at Aaron Slight on 111, on lap 20 of 25. This really is a case now. It's a war of attrition. They've just got to keep going. Concentrate on not putting a tyre wrong on this racetrack, to use exactly the same part of the track every single lap, because they know it so well. They do not want to run through a puddle that they haven't already tested. This is a case of just getting to the end of the race now.
Here's Carl, and that's Kellenberger, is it there in front of him? So that's the man who is in 5th place. Carl's in 6th. Oh, Roger.
Kellenberger just lighting up the rear end. Well, Foggy will be happy with 5th place.
Absolutely.
Really, again, well, Fogarty's showing really his world champion status here, isn't he? Where he doesn't fade. He's reached a pace that he's happy with, and he's not fading at all through this race. He's keeping going at his own pace, whereas everyone else is probably getting tired, they're waterlogged, they want to give up. It's a real miserable way to race in these kind of conditions. Kellenberger has nothing to gain from where he is at the moment, and he's just being reeled in slowly by Carl Fogarty, the world champion. But Carl, it'd be nice if he could beat him, though.
Carl doesn't need to take even a scintilla of a risk to get past him. He's increasing his championship lead over Edwards. Over Edwards, not over Troy, though.
No, Troy Corsa is, Troy Corsa is so far off the pace. He was 46 points, 11 points behind Edwards.
So 68 points behind Carl.
Yeah.
So don't worry. Don't panic, Mr. Mann.
So, I mean, if Carl goes away from here, 60 points in the lead of the series into Assen, which he's very confident at, where he's had 10 wins out of the last 12 races there on World Superbikes. he's not going to worry about going to Hockenheim in a couple of weeks' time. Hockenheim might favour the Hondas at the moment. And I emphasise might.
Yeah.
We've heard all this hype before about Honda lanes, but if Ducati have got it right, if Honda haven't quite got it right, if the weather conditions are a bit suspect, whatever, we might find that Carl Fogarty, OK, third and fourth will do him from Hockenheim, and then we go into the last round with Carl Fogarty on top. He's only got to be 51 points in front at the end of Hockenheim, and he's got the championship without the last race having to be even run.
Tension there from Mikhailo on pit wall, and Carl, as you can see, just shadowing Kellenberger on the private white endurance Honda, the bike that Jean-Pierre Jondin normally rides. Kellenberger making a better fist of it than the normal.
Well, I think we're getting a bit of a distortion in what goes on with the A1 ring here in Austria. We've got a few riders that seem to know this racetrack very, very well in the conditions. The conditions favour a one-race meeting wonder, don't they, really? You've just got to get your head down and go for it as hard as you can. Carl Fogarty and the other normal championship contenders really are racing for the title at this point in the season. They've really not got to make a mistake. They cannot afford it. Carl Fogarty, normally, if he'd been this close, he'd have been all over the back of Kellenberger and looking for a pass. But if Kellenberger lights up the rear end and gets it sideways in front of Foggy, and Foggy's too close, that could take him out. And that could be, you know, the advantage that Corsa or Edwards really need in this title.
Kellenberger is German, not Austrian, by the way, despite his name. A contender a few years ago in Pro Superbike, but another veteran using that old track craft he's gathered over the years to run a very, very good professional race.
Well, Roger Kellenberger on the RC45 while we cut back to the race leader on lap 21 and 25. It's the Corona Suzuki of number 7, Pier Francesco Chili.
And look at
Go
those
on,
lap
Frankie, I've got
times.
disjointed knuckles here trying to wish you on to win this race. You deserve it. And so do Corona, actually, coming to that. Corona Suzuki, run by Francis and Patricia Banner, is a great team. And to win here, their first win on Superbike, Julian pointed it out earlier, I lay no claim to that particular comment, but it was still, I underlined the fact that it would be a great day indeed.
It would only be Suzuki's 5th ever victory in World Superbike. Gary Goodfellow was the first. Doug Poland was the second. Then we had the Japanese chaps doing the job last year at Sugo, Rio, and Fujiwara. Sorry, chaps, forgot your name. And Keeley is setting up to be so rude of me. It was Kitagawa, I think, as well as
Ryuki Kitagawa, the ex-Kawasaki man.
That's it.
Anyway, getting back here, it is the race leader we're looking at. Stats we can do in the studio afterwards. Busai, by the way, on another Suzuki, is still in 4th place.
And of course, Suzuki only won one last year, so this will be the 4th win. The Haga won the 2nd race in Japan. So Suzuki, this would be
my point with getting too elaborate, because I think we've burnt that candle fairly well, was the fact it's the first for this team, having come from Supersport racing into World Superbike. And it's a great team, and on the case, as we note from the time in the corner of the screen,
Frankie
is Pier Francesco Chili. He's not leaving it alone, is he? And he's got such a lead now. If he dumped it on this last lap, that's the end of my support for you. Because it really...
A fastest lap on lap 22 with a 10-second lead.
It would be the stupidest manoeuvre I've ever seen if he dumped it. I mean, I think I would take away any avoidance of doubt there that Keeley really ought to be backing it off. Colin Edwards held it all together at the end of race 1 when the conditions deteriorated. Frankie ought to be, with his experience, able to do exactly the same thing. Well, he hasn't won this year. I really want to see it. I think actually all of Britain wants to see it, and probably most of the world too.
Because we know the man deserves it, the team deserves it, Dunlop deserve it. And it's all good for the championship. And proof that the Suzuki boys, and I think as you said, that team deserves so much credit for getting this bike really on the pace, building on the good work done by Harris, largely unsung in their 3 years.
Stephen Lester Harris, the brothers from Hertfordshire, who ran the Suzuki team officially when Suzuki re-entered World Superbikes with these bikes. And Harris did the donkey work, I think, before they injected the bikes. They got the old fuel injection working properly. And by then, it was all handed over to Francis Batter, who came up with the funding from Corona, of course. And they put it into Pier Francesco Chili. Good move getting an Italian on board as well. Goes with the style of the team, really, doesn't it?
And an Italian who had fallen out big time with Ducati and wanted revenge on the Bologna boys.
In front now, it is. So, what have we got? 4th place, 5th place for him. It's
behind Busai.
5th place for Carl Fogarty. He's in front now of number 29. He's finally got past Kellenberger. And Kellenberger, I don't think, will interfere with Carl Fogarty. Otherwise, he'll find himself wearing his helmet.
Far too experienced to do that, Roger Kellenberger, anyway, even if he could get back at Carl. Good stuff from Carl, thinking man stuff.
Well, another one.
Here's the move.
Yeah, straight underneath him, so a nicely done manoeuvre there, past the RC45. Carl Fogarty slips it into the left-hander. This has been two superb, mature races from Carl Fogarty, and this is a superb, mature race from Race 2 for Pier Francesco Chili. He was caught out by the front end in Race 1 while leading by, again, the proverbial country mile. Very similar to this, only well, slightly trickier conditions in my view. Half and half is not the way you want it. At least it's fully wet this time. And Keely's concentration there with 2 laps to go.
1.5 is that now?
Yep.
Good, I'm with you, Keith. Frankie and the team, this is an utterly deserved win. There's Mrs. Keely, hoping to God she doesn't get a repeat of Race 1.
The tension is everyone's got their breath. We're all breathing in at the moment, hoping Frankie will make it to the end.
I don't think he'll take his clothes off in this weather. And there again, what do I know?
Yeah, I was going to say, he'll want to get them off pretty quick, I would think.
He's going to throw his leathers to the crowd like he did in Monza and arrive at the rostrum wearing his underwear and socks.
Well, his boots are going to be full. Now, it's interesting that, well, Colin Edwards has been blitzed in this second race. I can't wait to hear what's happened to him and why that is, because
he was
talking about Carl Fogarty crying before the start of racing today, and I think, again, he might well consider his words a little bit more carefully as we come to the line to start the last lap of the race here at the A1 ring. Julian's got his fingers crossed now. That's worrying. He's got money on Keely and his fingers crossed. Pier Francesco then, just 1 lap left to go for the Corona Suzuki team man.
He's taking it easy. That's the, he almost stopped at that right-hander.
Good. He's got plenty of time. Like I said in race 1, Colin Edwards could have got off and pushed it to the end.
If only he'd known.
If only, yes. But we've seen Keely keeping an eye on his pit board. There's no talk back between rider and pit lane allowed in racing motorcycles, so Keely will have to observe his pit board to see just how much of a lead he's got. And lick your lips, I bet your mouth's dry there.
First win for a Suzuki outside of Japan, this will be as well. All their other 3 wins have come at Sugo.
So out of the mist comes Pier Francesco Chili for the last time. Half a lap left to go for the Italian, the veteran Italian from Grand Prix racing into Superbike racing. Pier Francesco Chili, his first win of the year. He's not won since last year. He had some superb rides last year, but this is his first on the Suzuki. He will be partying tonight.
I sincerely hope so. They deserve it. They've got the right sponsor for a party. And Frankie Keely, little bit of history coming up here. Only a couple of corners to go. Everything crossed in this commentary box. Fingers, toes, legs, you name it.
Keely then on his way home. Good result for Dunlop as well. We've got to underline Dunlop are having a real result here today. Michelin, well, we've heard that they are the favoured tyre in the wet at the moment. Not so in Austria, because Keely, oh dear me, just take it easy, Frankie.
Don't bother passing Mr. Rechberger. You don't have to do that.
Well, Rechberger actually doesn't look like he's been out of control anywhere around here. He's just like for a Sunday afternoon cruise, isn't he, Rechberger?
Here we go.
Take the money as we come past the entrance to pit lane and onto the start and finish straight. Pier Francesco Keely slows it up, stands up. Is he going to yank a wheelie? No, he's not.
Rossi.
He's going to do Super Fumi, Rossi Fumi, and claps to his team and takes the applause.
Look at all of pit lane.
Well, talk about get back all your credibility in one day. Pier Francesco Keely crashes out while leading race 1, comes crashing through to win race 2. Pier Francesco Keely, as ever, Mr. Starman himself.
Did you notice it wasn't just the Suzuki boys waving off pit wall?
I think everyone's happy for Pier Francesco. It's just one of those guys. Troy Corser comes home in second place. That's a good result for him. Aaron Slight, we wait for Aaron Slight.
And Corser stops to congratulate Keely.
Yep.
Well done, Troy. A gent as ever.
Great scenes then, even in the wet weather here.
Weather, what's the wet? Frankie doesn't care. Yeah, wake up in the stand.
He does know how to party, and look at the heavy cuts in those Dunlop tyres. They really are heavily used tyres. Certainly, tears all round then.
Isn't it? There's Francis Batter on the left.
Batter with the glasses, just descending pit wall. He'll be lining up a few extra crates of Corona tonight, that's for certain. To the line then, goes Fogarty.
How far
that
behind?
should be a 5th place for him.
4th.
4th place, so where's Busai gone? Busai went in the closing stages.
Oh, even better for Carl.
Fogarty really has. Well, he's blitzing them in this World
And look at
Championship
that, a
now.
minute 11 behind.
Oh, there's Busai run out of fuel.
Oh.
He's run out of fuel. Busai has run out of fuel on the line. Oh, dear me.
He ends up 6th, not 4th.
Having recovered from crashing into the sandpit in the early stages of this race, to recover right the way through to 4th place in it, the Suzuki man, Busai, can only cry on pit wall. No one will notice because he's crying in the rain.
No justice.
Busai, 6th place only for him in the end. Consolation. Well, he did the business. It was a result in the end. It was a great ride. I'm sure that he won't dwell too much on that. And
he would have liked to have beaten Carl Fogarty, wouldn't
well, wouldn't most people out there. Colin Edwards would have liked that, and he didn't.
And there's the Italian TV crews with him.
Well, they seem to be fairly happy for Busai.
Another great ride for the Alpha Technic Suzuki rider. With the old Wayne Gardner replica helmet on.
Yes, that's good.
That's an antique, isn't it?
It is almost. What Wayne Gardner? I shouldn't say that about the old boy.
Hello, Andy.
Andy Mecklau then. A traditional superbike finish to the day.
Destroying the evidence.
Isn't there a record we can play? That Smoke on the Water. Sorry, for you heavy metal fans out there.
Musical place as Frankie Keeley slapped on the back by his team out on the circuit. The man taking the split time by the look of it and radioing them back to Francis Batter and the team management. And no more popular winner. Frankie's aberration of last year at Assen largely forgiven by everybody, probably except Carl Fogarty, I would think. And of course, Assen next. And Frank, and there's Carl just looking back, and I'm very, very pleased to see that. Very pleased indeed. Assen coming up, they might not be friends again because Frankie goes so well at Assen. But Foggy's happy, he's hung in there, he was over a minute behind the leader, but he got 4th place. Behind Keeley, Corsa and Slight, we saw them. Foggy 4th in front of Roger Kellenberger on the Honda. Poor Giovanni Busai out of fuel, dropped from 4th to 6th on the last corner. Andy Mecklau, the local man, in 7th. Colin Edwards only 8th. Colin only gets 8 points for this race to the championship. Finishes 5 points behind his teammate, 5 places behind his teammate, Aaron Slight. Is that the blunting of the Edwards challenge, we ask? But 4 wins on the road, that would have been a lot to ask statistically. It very, very rarely happens. Frankie Keeley, though, he'll settle for the 1 in the row and hope to put it over again on Carl Fogarty and the Ducatis at Assen, a track we remind you that Frankie Keeley loves nearly as much as Foggy. And he's about to disappear into a backslapping horde of Alstari Corona mechanics and Dunlop tyre men.
Thank you very much.
Yes. A heartfelt thank you very much from the Chief Dunlop tyre engineer. More celebrations in Birmingham. That's I'm trying to see if Romana's there yet. Mrs. Keeley. Is she having a little quiet weep? And there she is. I don't speak Italian, so I'm not going to try and translate what she's saying. Obviously, a proud and relieved lady. And Frankie hugging everybody. A Japanese technician. He's already giving the fuel injection technician some information there. There's a professional for you. No more popular win. Even the travelling British fan, Francis Batter, the team manager, celebrates his first ever win in the World Superbike Championship. That's the team that won the Super Sport last year. And Frankie Keeley, well, the British fans, they're happy with Carl Fogarty's position in the championship. If you regard this weekend as a damage limitation exercise for Carl Fogarty, it was a major success. He goes to his favourite track with his championship lead substantially intact. And as we wait for the interviews and the rostrum, well, I just...
He wanted, and what a brilliant achievement for them in their first year with the Suzuki. So there's the point scoring synth, and now Fogarty has extended to 61 points, that lead ahead of Troy Corser. Colin Edwards nudged back into 3rd place. The battle is still on. We've got Assen next weekend, Hockenheim the weekend after. Things will be a lot clearer by then. So Carl Fogarty, he leads by 62 points. A great race for Pier Francesco Achilli. He's the winner.
Aaron, third here in treacherous conditions. What was it like out there?
Yeah, no, it was awful, and our bike's got just so much power. It's really good in the dry, and in the wet it's hard to ride. It's just wheel spinning its brains out, but you know it's a good bike in both dry and wet. And you know, Colin proved that in the first race, and you know, I'm really happy. My helmet worked out that time. I had a little bit of a problem in the first race. I couldn't see where I was going. Sorted my helmet out for that one, and we got on the podium. So I'm really happy.
You came here after a bit of a break, which I think you felt was good for you. Must have really been hoping for different conditions.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been all right if I had won the first race. You know, we had a small problem with my helmet in the first race, and you know that's what you get when it's my first time wearing it in the rain. So you have to experiment a little bit, and we experimented in the second race, and it was a lot better, and yeah, managed to finish on the podium. And the first race, it was only lack of vision, we didn't get there. So, you know, I think I'm riding okay. Just once again, just a few things going the wrong way.
Aston next, hope for a change of luck there.
Well, I've been hoping for a change of luck for about 3 years, so who knows? But yeah, one day we'll be there. And Aston, yeah, I really want to try hard at Aston because we know that Carl goes really well there, and I just like to beat him there before the end of the year, have one good ride at least.
Best of luck with that, thanks.
Cheers, see ya.
A very happy Kiwi there. Aaron Slide, look at those eyes. Was he concentrating on what? And he could certainly see where he was going. We can tell there's no misting up on that helmet. That Suomi helmet was definitely doing the job for him, and he came through to third place on the rostrum. A brilliant achievement by him in these conditions, a brilliant achievement by anybody. The man who finished second, Troy Corser.
Troy, you said it was going to be unpredictable out here. Certainly has proved that. All right with you for second?
Yeah, you know, just really disappointed about the first race. You know, it was I could have won or got an easy second, I feel, but you know that's what can happen. You know, it was a bit more dicey in the first one than in the second. You know, at least in the second, ran full wets, and it worked all right. You know, I didn't get a very good start again. I was almost last out of turn 1 or 2, and I had a lot of ground to catch up. I just sort of plugged away, just kept consistent laps, and knew I could lap just a little bit quicker than everybody else. So, you know, Frankie got the gap and he was pulling away. You know, he rode really well. You know, Frankie's a duck. You know, he goes so well in the wet. He's that hard to beat. But, you know, second will do for today. You know, made some good points. And like I said, we just lost out on some good points in the first race. But we'll just go to the next race and see what happens.
What happened there in the first race? You did a wonderful move at the end of beginning of turn 1 here over Colin and Aaron. Then the disaster. Where was it and what happened?
Well, you know, I ran intermediate front and rear. I think they had wet groove slicks front and rear, and I felt confident that I could get past them. I sort of went past them just to put some pressure on and let them think that I could get past them and make them push, which they did, and Aaron went down. And I was sort of waiting for Colin to go down because he had groove slicks and definitely didn't have as much grip, but I was just sort of following him. But I got out a little bit wide there in the turn 1, out on the outside of Petticini, and everybody's been crashing. As soon as you get sort of within a metre of the white line on the outside, you lose the front. It's just like hitting oil. So unfortunately, I was on the outside. I had nowhere I could go, and as I let go of the brakes, the front just locked up, and down I went. And unfortunately, it destroyed the bike a bit much at the front to pick it up and keep going. But you know, it's just one of those weekends. You know, it was really unpredictable, and it was good just to get a good result.
Back to second in the championship now, so a push at Aston, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. You know, with the wet weather, I was looking forward to it. You know, I thought, well, here I wasn't struggling in the dry, but I felt we had a better chance in the wet. You know, I felt Frankie was going to be the one to beat here in the wet for sure, and you know, Colin goes fairly well on Aaron, but and Carl so-so. But you know, Carl went well. I think he got 4th in that second one, and it was difficult conditions out there for everybody. You just had to make do with what you had and do the best you could. And I think that's what everyone done. It was just really hard.
Thanks a lot, Troy.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
Troy Corser then much happier with that second race result than he was with race 1. When, rather interestingly, he said that the front end sort of locked up just as he let the brake off, which seems a little bit odd to me, but there you go. Perhaps he still had the brake on but hadn't realised it. But certainly he was mentioning the fact that if you were within a metre of the white line, that's where you hit trouble. Almost everybody we've seen hit trouble has. This guy didn't.
Win of the season. Very popular win here. You must be very delighted. You said on Thursday this would make your season perfect.
Yeah, unfortunately in the first race, one very light mistake, and absolutely incredible what happened in the first race, because I can win also the first one. Some problem about I didn't see how much advantage I have in the first race, so I asked to move to my mechanics move a little bit more far from the corner, and second race I tried to pull a little bit, and when I see they say to me Troy coming, I pull a little bit more, and when I have some advantage, no way to catch me again. I have just to take care about lap by lap. Don't lose concentration, because easy to make a mistake on the wet. And I hope they stop the race before, because no way for catch me again. I don't know behind, but...
Your third last lap, I think you were about 15 seconds ahead and you did your fastest lap of the race. Were you not tempted to slow down by then?
Yeah, I don't want to say something like I am fast more, but sure I can pull a little bit more if I need.
Why are you so good on the wet?
I don't know if when I born it was a rainy day. I don't know, but I have a good feeling on the wet. I hope to win also in the dry as soon as possible.
Are you ready to do that now, do you think? Are you used to the bike? Is the bike ready now?
Yeah, sure, if it's dry here, I don't know if I can win, but for me, get the podium again here is wonderful, because in the practice I have some problem about setting bike. But Assen maybe is another track, and we try to, if we find good weather, we try to work in from beginning of the practice and to get the podium also there.
Well, you must be very happy now. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you to all my team, all my support, and Suzuki too. I'm very happy. It's a wonderful season, because we started from very bad. I nearly to stop, but I am here again.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done, Frankie Keeley. A well-deserved round of applause indeed. A brilliant ride. Well, Troy Corser describes him as a duck. He certainly doesn't look like one. He's not feathered. But he reckons he was probably worn on a rainy day. And there you are. He was running those 149s with a little bit in reserve. So the astonishing wet weather rider knew that he could have gone quicker if he wanted. And there was the exit of the unfortunate Peter Goddard. And that was on the first lap. Of course, when he really had made a tremendous start, was lying in third place, but he wasn't going to be the only man to go. And there's another example of what happens when you get near that white line. Probably the most unlucky man was Gregorio Lavia, who'd whole shot brilliantly and led for a fair bit of time before that happened to him. In fact, this is when it happened to him, and he moved. Oh, he was moving too near that white line, Rob. He was getting himself at an angle on the descent into that right-hander. He did make a mistake there. Gregorio Lavia then sadly losing out, but these guys didn't. Troy Corser in second place, Aaron Slight in third place, and Keeley in first place. Pier Francesco Keeley gives everyone a big bear hug. A very happy man indeed. So 25 points to him, and a really tremendous results for Suzuki, who've been working their way up to it. Remember, he's been on the podium a few times. He threatened that race win. He even lost one or two podiums, for example, when he crashed at the first race at Donington Park. And he was certainly threatening to win the first one, and as you said, just a small mistake, and that was enough to ruin his chances. Ian McPherson, our guest speaker, said that it really only did take a small mistake in these conditions, and everything was out of your hands, literally. And here at last, the moment that Francis Batra has been waiting for, to step onto the top of a podium in a World Superbike race. The manager of the Extra Corona Alstara Suzuki team finally gets victory, and by, he did need that, didn't he? He's got a lot of repair bills from this weekend. And finally, Frankie Keeley, who's contributed something to those repair bills, or rather contributed something to the expense, has won a race. So Frankie Keeley takes the race win here, the second race of round 10 at the A1 ring. Congratulations then, Pier Francesco Keeley. He takes the win here at the A1 ring ahead of Troy Corser and Aaron Slight. Slight slings his sunflowers and they prepare to shower the adoring audience with champagne. We'll be back with, or rather, shower the unlucky Francis Petter with champagne. We'll be back with the sidecar race in due course. Join us again for that.
Interview mit den erfolgreichen Fahrern seit Austria Superbike Weltmeisterschaft.